Welcome to Small Business 21st Century and today's segment of Build Your Difference. I'm your host, Pierre Walters, and we have a real treat for you today. In the studio is the founder of God's Best Friend and creator of A Sister's Love podcast, based right here in the DMV area. I want to say a warm welcome to the wonderful Sharon Bryant. So Sharon, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
Thank you, Pierre. I am doing wonderful, and thank you for inviting me to the show.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Sharon, you know, you have this incredible organization, God's Best Friend. I want to learn more about it. What is God's Best Friend all about?
God's Best Friend is about helping others during their crisis, somewhat of addiction, mental health, anything that you are having issues with. God's Best Friend is a resource tool that you can go to and get the help that you need.
A resource tool. And how did you decide to offer this kind of ministry to the public? Where did the idea come from?
Well, it started with outreach. For me, started in church, in the different churches that I attend. But then I also myself had a bout with depression and anxiety. And so with the support of my family and friends and my church, when they supported me and I got through, I came out and I wanted to give back. And so God's Best Friend was created with that in mind, is to help others.
And who do you find that you are helping through God's Best Friend as a ministry? Who are you going out and sort of looking to help through this ministry?
At the moment, I am looking to help anyone that is going through a mental health crisis, anybody that's going through alcohol or drug addiction, anything that one is going through that you might need support or help with. That is what God's Best Friend is about.
And when you say anyone, I mean, you mean anyone. We're not talking about specifically adults or children or men or women or parents or not, but you mean really just anyone who needs that kind of support.
I mean anyone that needs that kind of support, yes.
Now, I understand, Sharon, that you also work as a peer recovery support specialist, is that right?
Yes.
Now, how does your work intersect with the ministry of God's Best Friend?
Well, as a peer recovery support specialist, my position is to help others in their recovery process, their progress. And I am there to support them, to get them through whatever their issues are. I'm also training. We also are training using a curriculum that prevent addiction relapse. So that's how.
Wow. Okay, so before I ask my next question, I want to learn a little bit more about the podcast part, okay?
Yes.
A Sister's Love podcast. Now, how does the podcast sort of work with the God's Best Friend ministry?
The podcast works with God's Best Friend ministry because A Sister Love is targeting sisters.
Okay.
In a sense. It was created after my baby sister, Antoinette Shaw. I do have sisters here. All of my sisters were a part of my support, but Antoinette Shaw is the reason why A Sister Love came about. And that is because Antoinette Shaw, my baby sister, she was suffering with congestive heart failure.
Okay.
And while I was going through my mental breakdown, chronic depression and anxiety, my baby sister took the time to take care of me. And so with her hurting or being in her position, she didn't look at herself. She looked at me and she seen that her sister needed help. And because of her, I watched her dedication. I was feeling bad at a point because I'm her oldest sister and I felt like I should be taking care of her. But in a time of crisis, she turned that around and she did it for me. So this Sister Love came about. It's because of the dedication, the determination. I watched this baby sister continue on with life, even though she knew it was going to be shortened. I watched my baby sister love up on me like none other. I watched her make sure that I come through this on the other side in a positive way. And even though she was hurting, and even though she was sick herself, she didn't let that get to her. She made sure her oldest sister was taken care of. And so because I watch her dedication, her determination, it's causing me to, I refuse to go back. I just, my aim and my goal is to move forward. She didn't stop, though she was ill, and I'm not going to stop. And so because she supported me, I want to give back to others and support them. And so a Sister Love is going to talk about how we as sisters, we all have a story. I want them to be able to share their story, and I don't want them to be afraid to talk about whatever's going on with them. And so this podcast hopefully will be something that encourages them to want to get their story out.
Okay. That's incredible, really. The story behind the podcast, The Sisters Love. And I didn't know that when you were going through that difficult time in your own life, that you had the support of someone else in your family, your sister, who herself was going through an unfathomable life journey, really, with the condition that she had. And she took the time to be, it sounds like she was selfless in her dedication to making sure that you got through what you were going through.
Absolutely.
And so you're taking that sort of approach to helping others.
Yes.
And you're doing that not just through God's Best Friend, but also through this incredible podcast.
Yes.
Okay. And I also can see that you have a real passion for helping other people give their story and share their story. So your podcast, it sounds like it's going to be a great resource where people who are themselves either currently struggling or maybe once were struggling can tune in and feel encouraged and motivated.
Absolutely.
To make improvements or to do whatever they need to do to get through whatever it is they're going through.
Yes.
Does that sound right?
Yes, it does. It does. Thank you. Yes,
So,
it does.
Can anyone access this resource and your website? Is this, even though it's a Sister's Love, it's available for anyone to listen to, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it is.
Okay. So my question at this point has to do with the mechanics of kind of bringing people together, because over the past couple of years we know we're going through this incredible sort of transition in the world where we're dealing with health concerns, we're dealing with the pandemic, and I'm curious, has that affected what you've built through your ministry? Has that affected your ability to do this kind of outreach? Tell me about that.
Actually, the pandemic actually increased. It actually increased the effects. It didn't stop the outreach. It made us pour out even more, because during the pandemic, so many people were going through their own challenges, and so I worked through the pandemic, and it didn't stop us from helping anyone. I mean, that's what we do. And so the podcast, the website, all of that increased with knowledge and information so that we can help others get through their personal challenges.
Yeah, and and I see what you're saying, and I didn't even consider that, but the pandemic was and is, because it's still happening, an incredible time for mental health awareness.
Yes, it is.
Because, my goodness, I mean, if there's anything that has taken a toll on all of us,
Yes.
it's having to adjust to the demands of what it means to live in this sort of, this world that we're in right now. I almost wanted to say post-pandemic world, but it's not a post-pandemic. We're still in it.
We're still in it.
And I know even for myself that it was incredibly stressful to just, especially that first year, and then going into the second year, just incredibly. And so I can't imagine, just how intense that could get for people. So God's best friend and a sister's love together seems to be the perfect antidote or the perfect resource for people, all of us who are going through this and need, to find ways to better connect with each other and to know that we're not alone.
Absolutely.
And that's actually something that I see a lot on your site. And when I hear you speak, you always stress that you are not alone. Yes. We are not alone. We're going through this together.
Yes.
I want to know, and this is before we go to our next break. I want to know, you started the podcast. Mm-hmm. You have this website, and I understand that even in the current pandemic condition, you are looking to build ways for people to connect even in person.
Yes.
Safe and healthy ways for us to connect in person. So virtually on the website, audibly through the podcast, but also through what I understand is called a sisters gathering.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes, it is.
Could you tell me just a little bit about that before we go to break?
Okay, so a sister gathering had started in June. I myself went to a symposium in Florida in April, and it was a symposium of 500 women. And while I was there, I was able to listen to the different one's story. And what really made me want to do this is because some of the women were afraid to tell their story. Some of the women were ashamed to speak about what they were going through. They was worried about the stigma. They was worried about their family members. They were worried about people finding out. And so when I stood there and I seen it, I'm like, the majority of the people there, I didn't see a lot of my sisters. I didn't see a lot of my sisters. And I said, because the lack of resources, we're not able to get the help that we need.
So I understand that really, because of our community, or maybe where we're located, or maybe even in some cases our economic status, it can be difficult to get access to resources. Yes. And it sounds like you have developed a way to change that. Not just through your website, but also through a sisters gathering. So I want to learn more about it. Stay tuned. We're going to take a quick break and learn more about a sisters gathering when we come back. Thank you.
Since 1974, the Women's Center has provided mental health services in Northern Virginia and D.C. 1 in 5 adults experience mental illness each year, but the high cost of counseling can often leave members of our community suffering alone. The Women's Center offers our services on a sliding scale, so no one is turned away due to their inability to pay. For 45 years, the Women's Center has been a beacon of hope and healing. Visit thewomenscenter.org to learn more.
Welcome back. You are watching Small Business 21st Century, and today's segment of Build Your Difference with my special guest, Sharon Bryant. Sharon is the founder of God's Best Friend and creator of A Sister's Love podcast. And prior to the break, we were discussing about Sharon's upcoming venture, which is called A Sisters Gathering. I wanted to make sure I said it right. Sharon, you were leading into this, and you were telling us before the break that through your travels and as you've gone to different conferences and different supportive environments and sessions, you found that there were a lot of people who we would consider, our brothers and our sisters,
Yes.
in terms of community, in terms of, maybe even economic or demographic shared connections.
Yes.
That there can be a lack of resources that make it difficult to get access to the kind of support that we really need.
Yes.
And so you have this idea for a sisters gathering, and I want to learn about that. Tell me how that is going to solve this problem.
Okay, a sisters gathering, what inspired me, I recognize that a lot of people cannot afford to see a therapist, see a psychiatrist, see a counselor. And so because I'm as a peer recovery support specialist, what I learned, I want to share. And I'm going to share this freely. I'm not charging for this because I feel like it's something that's necessary, and I feel like it needs to be put out. So a sister gathering, again, when I came back, I felt the need to start something that my sisters can now talk. Because it's vital, it's very important that we talk about our issues. The gathering will be once a month. The first gathering that we had was on the Spirit of Washington. That was in May, and we celebrated a sister. And one of the things that I encourage all women is let's celebrate each other. We do enough of tearing each other down. Let's build each other up. So
I want to just jump in here. When you said the Spirit of Washington, that's a boat.
That's a boat,
right? And so
yes.
that boat circles. Is it the Chesapeake Bay?
Yes.
It tours the Chesapeake,
yes.
I think. Okay, so what you're saying is that your first a sisters gathering,
Yes.
your inaugural a sisters gathering, which meets monthly,
Yes.
was on this boat.
On this
and
boat.
so you took this boat. You I guess you rented the boat. You invited your sisters,
Yes.
in terms of faith, obviously in terms of blood, but also
Yes.
in terms of community,
Yes.
to all join together on this boat
Yes.
to support and love up on one person in particular.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Just want to make sure I'm following
Yes.
along here.
Absolutely.
And how did that go?
It was superb.
Okay.
It was wonderful. The sister that never been on a cruise, we decided to do that for her, and it was amazing. I mean, for us to come together on our first adventure, it was empowerment, and I enjoyed that. And so from that, I said we have to meet once a month.
Okay.
And so we had our second one at another sister's home. And that turned out very well as well. So at the sister gathering, you are a sister. So any of the ladies that come in, no matter what your title is, you have to put your title at the door. Because in the gathering, we are sisters. That means we are equal. No one is greater than the other. And we're there to share information, share our stories. And once we do that, we love up on each other. We support each other. We figure out what is it that you need, and then we in turn support that. And so I decided I wanted to do this on a monthly basis because there are so many women that are going through that really want to talk, but they're afraid to.
Yeah.
And I want this space to be available for them to be able to express whatever they want to share, because here there's no judgment. We let you be as free as you want, and there is a secrecy. Whatever we share in this gathering stays in this gathering. And so a lot of these women will not talk to their pastors. They will not talk to their families. And so at this gathering, we talk to each other and we listen to each other.
So you have created a sort of safe space, an intentional safe space.
Yes.
For women. We're talking about women, right?
Women.
Specifically women to
Yes.
come together
Yes.
and to share what may be going on in their lives,
Yes.
what's on their heart,
Yes.
maybe challenges that they
Yes.
might be going through, and to receive the support, the emotional support, and sometimes I imagine even practical support
Absolutely.
from the other sisters who are in attendance.
Yes.
And I think, and you underlined this, you sort of underscored this, that whatever is said
Yes.
in the gathering
Yes.
stays in the gathering. So it's a
Yes.
safe space.
Yes.
It's a confident space.
Yes.
And how are the attendees responding to this? I mean, at this point, you just said you did the first one. You said you just recently did the second one. How are people responding to this now that this is starting to become a regular thing?
They're responding very well. A lot of them are saying to me, I can't wait till the next one. Every gathering will be something different. We're not going to be in the same space every time. So there will be a different scenery, different atmosphere every single time. And so the first one, I think it was 11. The second one, we had like 25. And the third one, which is this month, is July 31st. I believe we're going to have like 40 to 50. So it's growing tremendously because women want to talk.
Yeah. You know what? This is really incredible. And to see that you are sort of stepping into that role as leader to make this happen is incredibly inspiring. I mean, you are encouraging and inspiring and motivating and bringing love and support to your community in a way that is so clearly needed. So my question is, who encourages you? Okay? Who encourages you as you're doing all of this?
Well, I'm going to first say God encourages me. The second one, I would say women encourage me. And I'm going to put my sisters in front of that. They encourage me. Because someone supported me when I needed it most, I want to be there to support someone when they need it most. And what encouraged me was, if I could say this, Pierre, you know, I told you I was watching a young lady, and she was reaching out, and I so happened to see her on Facebook, and she was just reaching out. And she was just telling the different ones what they done for her, and she thanked them for it. And in the end of that story, she said, but that wasn't enough. And when she said that, I'm steady reading like, okay, well, what happened to her? And when I found out that she committed suicide,
oh my God,
that bothered me. And I said that I'm not going to sit down on my story no longer. I went through the depression, I went through the anxiety, but because of love and support, this is why I'm here today. And I felt her, and it really bothered me. And I said, I'm not going to sit down on my story no longer. I want to tell my story. You can make it, you can get through it. You just need that love, support, and kindness from others, but you can get there. And I wish I could have said something to her, but I didn't. But I want to say something to others that are going through it right now.
If you're, you know, if you were able to say something to her before that happened, what would you have said?
Love yourself. I would have told her it was okay, that you can talk about it. And even though you might think you couldn't talk about it with your mom, you could have talked about it with a counselor. You could have talked about it with a therapist. You could talk about it with God. That's why it's called God's best friend. He was my best friend through this encounter. Him and my sisters and the love and support is what got me through this. And I want people to know it's okay to talk. It's okay to get help. It's okay.
What are some of the lessons that you've learned on this journey? You know, what are some of the lessons that you find that you're still learning?
The lesson I learned is stop holding things in.
Okay.
Don't be afraid to share what's going on inside of you. The lesson I learned is to be more loving and be more kind to others, because you never know what they're going through. And the greatest lesson is, I'm here.
Yeah.
I'm here. I'm your friend.
You know, this situation. I think in some ways, and we don't want this to be the case, but many of us at some point in our lives will either directly or indirectly have an effect on someone else who may be at a place where they are considering ending it,
Yeah.
or needing that kind of support. And understanding that one of the best things that we can do is to speak up and be there, let them know that you're there, is, I think, something that is, what an incredibly powerful lesson, because oftentimes we just want to hold it in and not knowing that just by letting them hear your voice is sometimes incredibly powerful and can make the difference.
Yes.
What encouragement do you have for our viewers today? What do you want them to leave this segment thinking about as they live their lives and affect others?
I want you to take care of yourself. I want you to think about yourself first. Because if you're not taken care of, you can't take care of nobody else. So I want you to take out time for you. And I want you to love yourself. And then I want you to do things that you enjoy.
I really appreciate that. And I can't tell you how motivated and inspired I am, and I know that our viewers are, from the incredible work that you're doing, that you have done, and that you are now launching into at another level.
Yes.
And I'm going to be encouraging all of our listeners that if they want more information about God's best friend, that they visit your website, and they can find that information at the bottom of their screen, or that they even consider listening to the podcast for more information.
Yes.
This is an incredible resource. It's that time again. And if you have any questions about today's segment, please see the information scrolling below. You've been watching Small Business 21st Century and today's segment of Build Your Difference. Thanks for watching, and have a great week.